Alright, so this is the Radioddity GD88. You can see many reviews about it. Everything that you see and you've read about or heard about in a review about this radio is 100% true. So I'm not going to try to do a full-on, you can get all that information. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you and just tell you my own personal experience with it. I would not recommend this radio for someone who is very familiar with DMR, because you're probably going to want things that this radio doesn't have. If you study it and this radio has the features you want, that's why you would buy it. If you're not experienced with DMR, which is me, this might be a good entry-level radio to get started with DMR. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't done any DMR with it yet. I can tell you that I've been a ham radio operator for over 30 years, general class. Electronics is, you can kind of see, it's been a hobby of mine since I was, knee-high to a snake. So just kind of natural that I started doing a ham radio a long time ago. I haven't bought a new radio in a long time. This came up on Amazon Vine, so I snatched it. What I like about it is the display. The display is pretty cool. It looks neat, right? It's got a lot of color to it. It has the ability, the audio power to pull out things that are really hard to hear. A lot of radios, you try to turn them up and you can't get them loud enough. This thing is incredibly loud, but of course all the reviews will tell you that. The problem is you can't get the volume down. And the other thing is that when you turn the volume up and down, there's a tremendous amount of lag. The other thing is, I wish it had a separate power button. So when you turn it on, it's like an old-fashioned TV where you have to turn the volume knob, clicks, and that's your power button. And when you turn it on, you're at the lowest possible volume setting, which I think, yeah, and then it makes a silly noise when you turn it on, which is really, this is what it sounds like. That's a horrible sound. It goes and then it's like, the first time I heard that, I'm like, why would anyone want that? I certainly don't. Let me tell you that it took me 3 days before I could have a QSO on this radio. Just to tune in a local repeater. It took me 3 days of fiddling around with this, realizing that I didn't know what the heck I was doing, reading the manual, trying to figure it out. I still have not found anything in the manual that explains to me how I'm supposed to set the programmable buttons. Now, it says it's got programmable buttons, but it doesn't tell you in any of even the manual I downloaded doesn't tell me how to program the programmable buttons. Now, I haven't created a quote-unquote code plug for it, which is a fancy 21st century name for a settings file. So basically, when I set up the settings file or code plug, it's going to have all of the memory slots and the repeaters and the DMR settings and all of those kind of things. By the way, if you haven't done DMR, you got to go get a DMR ID, and you plug the radio has an ID, you have an ID, and you plug your ID into the DMR radio, and that tells the world that it's you. And it takes some setup to do that. I haven't gotten done with it yet. I just haven't. So there's a lot to learn. If you're used to analog radios where everything's got a button or a toggle switch or a knob or something, or this is all digital. This is almost, I almost wish it was SDR. It's not SDR, but the computer is so far in front of the radio itself that it may as well be SDR. Let's see here. See, that actually is manifest in things like this. When I want to open up the squelch, like I have a Yaesu handheld, and when I push the button, it opens up the squelch, and then when I let up the button, the squelch closes. So I can go, I can just really fast, just blip that squelch, and I'll just hear just a bit of, I can tell that the radio is active. This, you push the button, and then you have to push the button again to close the squelch back up. I don't like that. I want to hit the button, and it doesn't respond instantly. There's a lot of lag. So what else don't I like about this? I don't like the fact that even if I just have it sitting here, monitoring, and once again, and you'll see this in the other reviews, you can't shut off the other receive. You've always got two receives active. If you want to deactivate one of the receives and focus on just one frequency or one receiver where you're doing some scanning, no can do. But what I'm complaining about here, this particular thing, is that even as it sits here, just monitoring, it gets noticeably warm. Not hot, it's not a problem, but it's generating heat. And the reason it's generating heat, my guesstimate, is that it's overclocking or overtaxing the processor in here. And if you're using the power from the battery to generate heat, you're wasting the power. And all the reviews will tell you that the battery doesn't really last that long. Well, that's 100% true. Because they're using it to generate heat. So something in here is inefficient. And when you have a battery operated device, efficiency is key. You don't want to convert your electric power into heat. Unless, of course, you're transmitting, and you can't really avoid it sometimes when you're doing that. But just sitting here receiving, this thing gets warm. It's like, put a more efficient processor in there. That would be the thing to do with that. Let's see here. When you push one of the buttons on the front display, you can see the other buttons move. So the whole thing is like one sheet of propylene or urethane or whatever they're making these buttons out of. What else? It's a solid radio. I wish it had an aluminum chassis. I'd like an HT with an aluminum chassis. This is not aluminum. This is plastic. If I dropped it, I'm sure it would crack. I've dropped my aluminum chassis HTs, and they get scuffed and scratched, but they don't crack. I'm not getting the super glue out. I think I'd probably end up using a few tubes of super glue if I dropped this on the concrete. Last thing to complain about: the clip, the belt clip. My other HTs, and I'm probably going to try to mount this on here. Basically, what they do is I have a belt clip, and the HT goes on, and you just put it on, and it swings. It swings from a little knob. And when I want to take the HT off my belt, I flip it upside down, pull the HT up, and that's it. When I want to put it back, any angle, boom, right back in that. This I can't do that with. This does not swing. It's not bad, but it's certainly not. I want one of those little posts, and I want, click, I want to flip the radio upside down and pull it out. That's what I'm used to on all my other HTs. This does not have that, and boy do I notice it. Other than that, I would say those are the things. Once I start in with DMR, I'm probably going to have all sorts of other things to say about it. I'm going to just close this by saying, if you are already in DMR, this will probably be more of your first DMR radio. Certainly it's mine. And for about $100 less than its main competitor, everybody else says this, and it's 100% true. This is certainly worth what they're charging for it. With firmware updates, perhaps some of the things that people complain about will become, better. They'll fix the volume thing maybe. Who knows how this is going to be, because firmware is everything with these, because the computer is front and center. I do think that the fact that the UI, or the HMI if you want to call it that, lags in response is probably one of the biggest things, and the fact that you cannot turn the volume down. This volume control, in my unfettered opinion, should be infinite. I should be able to turn this half a degree and make a corresponding change in the actual output. I like the fact that the speaker is really loud. I mean, they probably have a power amp driving that speaker that really got some power to it, or a very sensitive speaker, or both. You can really crank this thing up, but I want to have that fine control. I want to be able to, put it. It has very, very like discrete volume settings. You can have it too high or too low, and nothing in between. And no, guys, give me at least 32 levels of volume, if not 128. Make it so that it's just give me an analog volume control. But whatever you do, fix the lag. It really lags. If you got somebody coming on on this and it's too loud and you want to turn it down right away, you're going to wait probably, you know, quarter second. I think it's 250, maybe 500 millisecond delay. I haven't measured it, you know, just but it seems like a lot, you know, perceptually. It's a long time to wait to have a knob give you the response that you're looking for. I still think it's worth I think it's about $200 for this thing. I think it's worth it. This is a $200 radio. This is not a $280 radio. No. So yeah, it is what it is, and that's pretty much my review. I'm going to probably give it 3.5 on the Amazon thing, maybe 4. So that's it. Thank you. Oh, I should say one more thing. The charger will hold 2 batteries. You only get 1 battery with the radio, and the spare batteries are scarce. Sure wish they gave you 2. The batteries don't last very long. You put it in the charger. The light, there's a separate light for each channel here, and the light glows red while it's charging and green once it's finally charged. The front of it will hold the entire radio, and then the back of it can hold the spare battery. You cannot put the radio in back. You can't. Not that you necessarily want to, but you can't put the radio in back. Only put the radio in front, and it will charge the battery with the radio sitting there. I only have 1 battery, so I haven't tried it with both. The charger doesn't get hot. This is a little switching mode power supply for it. I don't even know what the voltage on it is. It might be 12 volts. Either way, fine and dandy, everything on here. Liking it. 12 volts. So yeah, just basically any 12 volt with a DC barrel connector. I think this is a 10 millimeter. Well, I'm not sure. Whatever it is. This is really common barrel connector. So there you go. That's it. Thank you.